Hi, this is Simus here, and I'm going to show you one way of making sound with Orca, the programming language slash live coding environment, by using the free and open source digital audio workstation, LMMS. So, the reason that I wanted to do something, use a program like LMMS, is because first of all, it's free and open source, and second of all, it allows for a lot of instrument plugins, so you can make a lot of different sounds using these programs in conjunction with one another. Can't make anything out of Orca on its own, of course. So anyway, I'm assuming that you actually already have Orca installed, um, and have gotten it running at least once. I'm also assuming that you're on a Debian-based Linux distro right now, and I'm using the Node version of Orca. If you're using the C version or doing something else, it's not going to change anything other than how you actually open Orca. Okay, but I'm not assuming you have LMMS installed yet. So how you install that is sudo apt install LMMS. I do already have it installed. I'm not going to uninstall it just for this video. And one thing to say about it though is when you first install it, it's going to ask you for a audio buffer length. So you can just leave that at 256 unless you know what you're doing and want to change that or to whatever, in which case, who am I to tell you otherwise? Okay, so anyway, so yeah, default's 256. So let's open that with the command LMMS. Okay, and yeah, I'm not going to go give much detail on this program, but the thing we're focusing on is the instrument panel over here. There's the different instrument plugins that we currently have in the LMS project. You can select more in this instrument plugins menu here. And just drag them on over, put them right there. Okay, so anyway, LMMS is set up for the time being. I'm going to get Orca running by changing. Okay, so if you watched the setup tutorial for Orca that Jess/J3S made, if you're doing this for the Siberia contest, you'll have already cloned this directory from Git. So I'm gonna go into that directory, Orca/desktop, run npm start to run it in Electron. Okay, so now I have Orca open. I want to call your attention to this MIDI through port thing on the bottom right. So this is what appears right here is your the device you're currently outputting to, the MIDI device you're currently outputting to be specific. So you can change which one you're using with control period, control dot. You can see my only two options are MIDI through port 0 and no output device, but if you had some kind of MIDI device hooked up to your computer, like a MIDI keyboard, controller, or whatever else, this is where that would appear as well. But on Windows, there isn't a default MIDI through port like this. You need to use a program like Loop MIDI, but I said I'm assuming you're on Linux, so we're not going to get into that right now. Okay, so anyway, this is what I wanted to add is this MIDI through port, because that's what I'm going to take input from in LMMS. So anyway, I'm just going to put a little bit of code in here to drive the program. Use the delay operator, which bangs at regular intervals. This bang is this asterisk appearing, and this is what drives most of the operators in the program. Okay, so I'm going to set this to 1. It's actually outputting on every beat, every clock, really. Okay, now the MIDI send operator, colon, requires 3 parameters, which are what these first 3 dots here mean. Okay, so the first one is and they're positional. So this first parameter is which MIDI channel we're sending to. Orca indexes starting at 0, like most programming languages do. And so this is really selecting MIDI channel 1, which will come into play back in LMMS. Okay, the second parameter is the octave that we're sending into. I'm just going to select 3. Actually, I'll do 4, make it middle C. Octave 4, note C, capital C for C natural, lowercase c would be C sharp. I've discovered through trial and error. Okay, then these last two parameters correspond to note velocity here, and then the last one is note duration. So you can use these to great effect, but I'm just going to leave them as is, and that'll send the default velocity and duration to LMMS. Okay, actually going to have this cycle through octaves to make it sound not so super monotonous when I turn on, when I get sound coming out. Okay, so this is sending MIDI signals to the MIDI through port now. We're not hearing anything because we don't have it configured at the other end. So now we can go to one of our instruments, such as the triple oscillator, blah blah blah, mallets, whatever. Okay, so click on it. It'll bring up this this panel. Now go over to the little keyboard icon here, which is MIDI settings. Enable MIDI input. Make that green. I'm going to set this to channel 1, corresponding to the fact that I have 0 in this first parameter here. And then this is where I select the device at this little keyboard icon. And I have to select MIDI through port 0. And now Orca is outputting, and now LMMS is actually doing something with the input from MIDI through port 0. Okay, so now, okay, I'm going to hit spacebar to stop Orca there for a second. So now, where this really gets interesting is now we can put different instruments on different channels. So now I'm going over to the mallets, going again over to MIDI settings, enabling MIDI, selecting MIDI through port 0 as the device, and I'm going to put this one on channel 2. So now if I hit this to 1, corresponding to MIDI channel 2, and hit spacebar to play this again, now it's doing mallets. Okay, so now I can like programmatically change this parameter here and do more interesting things. So it's kind of blocked away in here. So I'm gonna actually have to use the X operator here. Stop that for a second because it's very distracting while I'm trying to make this tutorial. And okay, I'm gonna drag that over using Alt and then move it. Okay, so now I'm outputting, I'm going to use the clock operator once again, set it to mod 2, so it's just going 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, and I'm going to output it. Okay, this is the vertical offset, this is the horizontal offset for the X operator. This is the parameter here is what it actually writes at that offset. Okay, and I want to use with caution, because if you miss and put it in the wrong position, it'll overwrite whatever is at that position. So 0, 1, 2. Okay, need to put a 2 in the vertical parameter there, and so now you can hear it's sort of switching back and forth between the sine wave triple oscillator thing and the mallet sound. And Now it's also outputting to channel 0. There's nothing, or channel 2, or slash it's actually MIDI channel 3, but you're not hearing anything yet because there's nothing being received by that channel. And so now it is. So anyway, that's the functionality that I basically wanted to cover in this tutorial. Hopefully this will help you get started with Orca. If not, hey, thanks for watching anyway. Alright.